have faith that the universe is bringing about opportunities that are helping me to expand to my next level. And that even goes for the things that I'm like, why is this happening to me? I like to shift really quickly into that mindset of actually, why is this happening for me? Welcome to the Passion Pursuit podcast. I'm your host, Haley Thomas, and I'm obsessed with helping you create a business that supports the life you dream about. I have worked with many entrepreneurs just like you who desired to make an impact and an income by doing what lights them up. Get ready to learn about the strategies, shifts, and stories that will equip and inspire you to take action. If you're ready to make your vision into a reality, then you've come to the right place. Let's get started, shall we? All right, welcome back to another episode of the Passion Pursuit. I have to say, my most challenging aspect about this podcast is the intro and the outro, okay? Like every time I get to hit record on a new intro, I'm like, okay, how do I want to come into this? Is it the same every time? Do I want to come in with a sassy question, some big epiphany right off the get-go? I'm just letting you in that there's a lot of thought that goes into how to intro every single episode. And then I get to the outro. And I don't know if it's because I'm from the Midwest, but I feel like I do this standard Midwestern goodbye where it's just really hard for me to wrap it up and get out the door. So I'll kind of start to wrap it up and then it's like, oh, nope, we're still standing there. We still haven't left. And if you're from the Midwest, you get it. It's this thing where we'll be standing at the entryway of the house for what feels like 30 minutes to more when somebody goes to leave, because I don't know why. It's just this thing where we just can't say goodbye. So we just get closer to the door. We don't actually leave. We just stand by the entry and then maybe we'll put the jacket on and then it's oh, and here's another thing. And we start to talk about something else. And I find that I'm taking that Midwestern goodbye into this podcast. So I'm just giving you the inside scoop as to what I'm dealing with as I kick off this next episode of the podcast and the thought process that's going through, just being real, super, super real. That I don't know what it is. It's the middle, the meat of the episode to me is the fun, easy part, but it's just the intro and the outro, the bookends that I'm still learning and growing. So thanks for bearing with me. Hopefully it's not been too crazy or weird to listen to, and we'll just go ahead and get started by diving into the topic of today. So it's kind of crazy. I was preparing this episode today and I was like, this doesn't even feel real that I'm going to be talking about this topic. But the topic of today is the fact that we are somehow halfway through the year. Yeah, I know. If you just kind of tensed up a little bit, so did I, as I said that. It is wild to me that one, we're in the year 2023. I mean, what the heck? But then the fact that we're moving into the second half part of this year is absolutely mind-boggling to me. And it freaks me out, to be honest, how scary fast this year is going. And I always hear from friends or, people who have kids that when you have kids, it goes a lot faster. And I'm like, how much faster can it go? Because we don't have kids yet. And I'm like, wait, please hold on just a little bit because these months are flying by. And I don't know, maybe it's that saying that goes time flies when you're having fun. And I have been having a lot of fun lately. So it could just be that that's why things are moving and grooving, but it's crazy. So I wanted to dive in with so much intention with this episode and not only share some of the lessons that I have personally learned this year in the first 6 months of 2023, but I want to leave you with questions that you can then ask yourself to set intentions for the remainder of this year. And if you, when I said, oh my gosh, we're halfway through, tensed up a little bit and you're like, wait, how are we halfway through? I haven't done all the things I set out to do. I'm not even close. I haven't even started some. I just want you to take a deep inhale with me. Exhale, let it go. It is fine. It is fine. We are not on a strict timeline when it comes to the things that you want to create and the dreams that you want to pursue, okay? This is simply an opportunity to regroup, to realign, and move forward. And honestly, this gets to be a really, really exciting time of the year if you let it be so. So today, as you're listening, take the pressure off. This is not meant to be like an oh crap sort of moment. Like, really just take the pressure off, take a deep breath, and know that there's a lot of good things that are to come. And you're just simply taking an opportunity to set some new intentions. But let's first reflect, because I think before we can really move forward, I think it's important to do some reflection. And I do this often, you guys. Like, this isn't something I do just once or twice a year. I actually do this quarterly, even monthly, where I look back at the previous thing that I'm measuring and I say, okay, what is going well here? What did I love? What do I want to release? What can improve? And then I'm able to pivot and move forward. And we dive a lot deeper into more of that side of things on the goal episode a few episodes back. So be sure to check that out. I'll link it in the show notes as well, so you have easy access to it. But really, it's a great opportunity before you move forward into the things that you're wanting to create to do some reflection, okay? We can learn so much from the previous months if we give ourselves the opportunity and the space to actually slow down and look at what's happened so far. Not to mention, I feel that when we're in the stage of reflection, it also gives us a good opportunity to celebrate. And I'm all about celebration over here. Like, throw some confetti for yourself, pat yourself on the back, give yourself a little clap, like, truly celebrate everything that you have done, who you are, just everything that has led you to this moment, okay? Even if this year is not turning out exactly how you thought it would be, that's okay. We're still going to celebrate. You're here, you're listening to this episode, you're excited to move forward, and so am I. So, first, I want to dig into my own personal 6 months and just kind of share some things that came up as I was reflecting on the previous 6 months. And I have to say, this has probably been one of the most wild transformational years for me personally, and not just externally and the things that I've created or done or, said yes to, but internally. I feel like such a different woman than how I felt around this time last year. And that's kind of crazy, to be completely honest. Like, sometimes I look back and I'm like, oh, it's only been a year since that or 6 months since that. And it's wild how vastly different I feel internally. And it just goes to show that so much can happen in such a short amount of time. So, like, you could be looking back December 31st at the next 6 months and be like, wow, I can't believe all that evolved. And that is the importance of why we're talking about this today. So, for me, the last 6 months have been filled with saying yes to opportunities that are way outside of my comfort zone, right? Like going to Spain, starting this podcast. Like, there's so many things that have happened that I have been dreaming about for years that have happened in these last 6 months. I have created things on my vision board that have been on there for years. I'm working with the most incredible clients, getting ready to travel to places that are on my bucket list with my husband. Like, to have that experience with my best friend is something beyond my wildest dreams. And all of this has happened because of what has shifted for me internally. And so I want to share those lessons with you, the things that I've experienced, because I think it's easy to look from the external and be like, wow, that's cool. But like, how? Like, this isn't just about things just automatically shifted and I'm able to do this, or things just grew or catapulted. There's no such thing as like overnight success, right? It's been years, many moments, many things, many obstacles that have led to the life that I'm living right now and I'm actively continuing to create. So the first big lesson that has come out of the last 6 months, trust, the word trust. And I almost get annoyed now sometimes when I say it because it's such a prominent part of my day to day, is continuing to trust. And I mean, trusting myself, trusting the process, trusting the timing, trusting that there's more to be revealed that I can't see yet. And just having faith that there's a lot more that than meets the eye, right? Like, continuing to just have faith that the universe is bringing about opportunities that are helping me to expand to my next level. And that even goes for the things that I'm like, why is this happening to me? I like to shift really quickly into that mindset of actually, why is this happening for me? Even as something as simple as I got sick last week. Like I was so sick, completely knocked out. I'm trying to prep to go to Spain at the time this is being recorded. And I'm like, I do not have time to be sick. And that was honestly exactly what I needed in this season of life because it actually forced me to slow down. And that was something that was absolutely for me in this season of pretty much pure chaos. So, trusting and surrendering to the things that, again, may not make sense at the time, but that are for you. Like everything that is here now is for you in one way or another, and continuing to trust that. Or for me too, like I'm in this season where of course I always have like many ideas, but I'm in this like very bizarre season where I feel like there's something that hasn't quite come through yet. It's like I almost feel like I'm on the edge of this like next brilliant idea, but I don't know what it is. And I feel like I'm looking through a peephole, but I haven't completely like opened the door. Like I don't know what's on the other side. And it's super hard, to be honest, to be in this waiting season, in this limbo. I feel like I'm like just sitting here, and it's a weird place to be, but I don't know what it is. I have so much trust that there's more that is going to continue to be revealed. I actually think a lot will be revealed in Spain, so I'm really excited to get there. I definitely do better in creative ways when I'm somewhere super cool. So yeah, just continuing to trust that process. So I feel like that's probably my biggest lesson for this year so far, is just continuing to lean into that trust. The second, speaking of leaning into things, is leaning into my desires, even the absolutely crazy ones. And that goes for moving forward with the things that I really want and that excite me, even if it's outside the norm, outside of the box, outside of what makes sense, like continuing to lean in to those things that light my fire inside, and leaning into that inner whisper that is telling me I need to let something go or I need to release something, right? Like I've had a few experiences in the last few months that have truthfully not felt aligned, and it used to be an old habit to just kind of deal with it and to keep moving forward, or to try to convince myself that it was a me problem, not like an external thing, and that I just like would force myself to do things that I felt I should stick with for one reason or another, or I should do more of this. And to be honest, I'm just kind of in that season where I'm done with that. I don't have time. I don't want to continue to do things that don't feel completely aligned to the life and the mission, the values that I have in place. So I have those for a reason. Like I say, my values are my compass, and anything that isn't aligned with that, I don't have time for that anymore. I get to say no. And that's something that's very, very new for me, but I'm just continuing again to trust the desires, right? Like there's that word again, it's coming back in, telling you it's a big theme of the year, but trusting that my desires are there for a reason, whether they are propelling me towards something exciting or if they're telling me I need to create space, I need to let something go. This isn't for me anymore. And maybe it was just for a season, and that's super okay too. The third thing that I have learned this year that has been like, it almost like honestly makes me emotional because you don't realize the impact that your actions have or that your dreams have. And the third thing is that your dreams may be inspiring others to chase theirs. Like you do not realize that when you go after the things that you want, you are actively giving other people permission to do the same. And that has been really, really prominent in my decision to start this podcast. I've had some people reach out that are like super, super curious about this process, and they want to know how they can do it. Or they're like, hey, this is something I wanted to do for a long time, but I just never thought I could. And seeing you do it and have fun with it shows me that I could do this too. And like, wow, what a good feeling that is to know that by me stepping out of my comfort zone, taking action on this vision, that it's inspiring somebody else to step into their vision too. Or me going to Spain, right? Like that dream that I'm chasing has led to so much expansion in myself, like way more than I could even go into in this episode. It's led to expansion in my marriage, in my friends, in my family, because it's something that is outside of the realm of what most people would probably think about doing on the day to day. And because of that, I get to set that example of what is possible. And it's really cool because it's been showing those in my family and close friends that there's that possibility for them to do the same too. And so it's so fun when I hear people who are like, oh, I followed remote year, or oh, I'm looking at traveling now. And it's just like, yes, like live your life, do the things. So your dreams inspire others. The fourth thing that I have learned, that I will say I'm still learning, and probably for all these things, it's not a like, oh, I learned it and I'm good to go, I'm an expert. These are definitely ongoing lessons. But something that I feel has been really, really present for me and present for a lot of my clients is that when you are a service provider, especially, you will end up holding a lot of space for people. And for me, this is in business and this is in life. I hold a lot of space for my clients and I hold a lot of space for my family, and that I am someone that I have I have more of that empathetic side. I am able and willing to listen. I can be there to support. And there's a fine line between holding space and then taking responsibility for that other person's decisions, emotions, and actions. And it is something that is so hard to release, especially because at the end of the day, obviously you want what is best for the people that are in your life, business and life. However, somebody else's decisions are not on you. What somebody chooses to do in their life is not on you. And so I can come here, have the most incredible, impactful call with a client, map out a brilliant strategy plan. But if they take it and they don't do anything with it, that no longer is on me. That is on them. And it's hard. It's so hard because we really want what's best for people. Or, even like in a family situation, like I'll have someone come to me about, I don't know, some random thing, and whether it's like a complaint or something about it that's upsetting them. And it's like, it's so easy for us to step in and take the responsibility for fixing the problem or making things better. And I just realized that you can't do that. It's not for you to bear. So again, still learning that one and still continuing to navigate that. And I think it's especially hard when you're someone who has the lovely gift and sometimes curse of empathy, is it's really hard to separate the two, but really being mindful of the fact that you are responsible for you and you alone. So hopefully that one resonates. The thing that is coming up as well, that is my fifth lesson of the year, would be slowing down in pretty much every way. Slowing down my processes, slowing down how I navigate things. And this is like anywhere from onboarding a client, like really slowing down that process, to even launching something new. I am someone who, when I am passionate about something, I can tend to go from like 0 to 100 really quick. And all of a sudden, an idea that just entered my brain last night as I was going to bed is something that I plan and am ready to like launch the next day. And that's not realistic. And so I have to reel myself in a little bit and trust that the timing and like slowing that process down is actually for my benefit. Because of this, I've actually had some ideas that I realized were definitely not aligned or not for me. They actually might be for a client of mine. And so I'm able to take a step back and see it from that bigger perspective rather than just like running myself with the idea, because that's just how I used to operate. So slowing down everything in business and just being really mindful of being more intentional with the things that I'm doing and the things that I'm creating, right? Not feeling like I have to rush it. I think we're always in this race, and it's like if we get to the end result of all the things we want to do, it's like, well, that's not very fun. Like it's about the journey and the process of getting there. So I'm mindful that I don't have to always be at the end result, that I get to enjoy the process of doing, of creating, and of course of becoming the woman that I want to be. So not being afraid to slow things down. And number 6, being open. A lot of people are like, how do these things happen? Like, how do you how do you randomly go from, doing this to doing that? And, it just seems like you're always like doing these cool things. And I'm like, well, I'm super, super open to the opportunities that I don't necessarily see quite yet. Like I went into this next year and there was this question of, what do you want to create if anything were possible? And of course, like I have a couple things in mind, but there's also this piece where I'm like, there's a lot I know I can't see. And I'm just going to leave that there and trust that there are things that are beyond my wildest dreams that I just can't wrap my head around quite yet, but I remain open and I remain curious about the things that come my way. For example, if you would have asked me at the end of December if I would be taking Brian on a 2-week trip through Europe or living in Spain for 4 weeks before that myself, like I would have been laughing. Like that would have been a joke because there's no way I could have seen that. And honestly, past me, who is still creeps in every now and then, the planner would be like, well, no, that's not in the plan. Like that doesn't make sense. And sometimes I think we limit ourselves to the possibilities that are there for us if we are so like closed-minded to things that are just within our plans. So I'm constantly learning how to remain open to the things that are ahead that I don't know. I just don't see it yet. And that's a really hard thing to do, but things are working out well as I continue to do that. So just being inspired to trust. Again, there's that word, it's coming back, but every aspect of this, it's there. But trusting and remaining open to the things that are ahead for you. 7th, self-care, you guys. I mean, I know this is kind of a silly one and I could probably do like a whole, or actually, you know what? I don't even know why I said that. Self-care is not silly. This is not silly actually at all. It's quite serious. And this could be a whole episode in and of itself. And that is that self-care is crucial. That you making yourself a priority, you making your health a priority is serving everyone around you. And that it is so important that you do. So yeah, I'm just going to leave that there. Like self-care is so crucial. So making sure that you're planning time in your schedule, like that you are doing the things that are actively fueling your mind, body, and soul so that you can show up in the best way for those around you, for your business, your family, your kids, all the things. So self-care is crucial. We'll leave it there. 8, owning my schedule and owning my boundaries. Now, I have grown in past years to be I would say quite good at this. I really embraced the freedom and flexibility of creating my own schedule. I've been an entrepreneur for probably, let's see, almost 10 years now. So I know how to operate on my own time. However, I have these seasons every now and then where things get a little crazy. Maybe I, have an influx of clients coming in at one time. Maybe I'm starting new projects at the same time. And all of a sudden my business is running me instead of me running my business. And I'm just continuing to learn that no, like that is not how we operate. If I am feeling overwhelmed, oftentimes it is an aspect of I am not taking ownership of my schedule. I am saying yes to too much and I am like past my capacity each and every day. So looking at it again, being really mindful of what I'm saying yes to and understanding that my no is just as important as my yes, and I have got to honor myself and my energy and my boundaries. It is so, so, so important for me to continue to show up in the way that I want to. So it kind of ties in with that self-care, right? Of, really taking ownership of your schedule and not being afraid to, maybe disappoint every now and then. If you have to say no to something, like you can't be everything for everyone. And you are also not a machine. You are a human being. So just give yourself so much grace and so much permission that you get to say no. Number 9, we're wrapping up here. Number 9, leaving space for all emotions. And this one has not really a lot to do with business, but it definitely, I will say, impacts business. I find that when you're an entrepreneur, business and life kind of intermingle, so they filter through one to the other. And for me, I used to kind of like stay in the realm of just like more like the positive side and like the joy side. And any emotion outside of that, I would just be like, nope. And like, we'll sweep it under the rug. We'll just push it down a little more. But then that comes out for me in physical pain, or that comes out in stress, or that comes out later on. And all of a sudden it's like, it's not good for anyone. Okay. So giving myself the space and the permission to process the things that are present. And so for me, a lot of the times as an entrepreneur, that is fear. And rather than like downing or like belittling myself or shaming myself or feeling guilty or upset for feeling fear, I get kind of curious and I just say, you know what, like, okay, we're a little scared right now. Why are we scared? Well, because we're starting something new. Okay, cool. That's pretty justified reason to be a little bit scared. Like, that's normal. That's okay. And giving myself so much grace and permission to feel the full range of emotions. Again, you're not a machine, you're a human being. And I find that with my clients that I work with as well, is like, this is something that comes up a lot in conversation is like, when you come into your workday and you're like, I'm just not on it today. I'm feeling really stressed out. I'm just feeling grumpy. It's like, yeah, you probably are, because we get grumpy every now and then, and that's okay. You don't have to be on 24/7, 365, okay? Like giving yourself so much permission and leaving space for there to be off days, okay? That's why it's like when you talk about that process earlier about slowing down the process, leaving space for those emotions, knowing that you have time to work through things, but give yourself the permission to feel all the things. And last but not least, I will say that one of the biggest lessons I've learned this year is this belief that the best is still yet to come. And like I said, I hinted about that a little earlier with just continuing to remain open to possibilities. And I find that there's so many things that are coming to life, things that I've dreamed about for so long that I'm like, well, how can it even get better? Like, is this the peak? Have I peaked? Does it go downhill from here? But honestly, I don't believe that's true. I actually believe that this stage is inspiring the next and that it continues to get better and better and better. And I hold that belief and I share that belief with my clients. Like they reach a certain point, I'm like, and the best is still yet to come. It still gets to be better. It still gets to be this good. Like let it in. There is an abundance here waiting to fill you up. And I think, again, it's just how can we remain open that there's still more to be revealed. The best is still yet to come. So I really like that one. I hope that one resonates with you. Just continuing to have that mindset. And maybe you write that down in a little sticky note, place it on your mirror, place it on your laptop. The best is still yet to come. So those are my personal lessons, but as I promised, I want to leave you with some questions that you can look at as you prep for the second half of the year. Maybe you did this in the early stages of 2023, but if not, cool. Happy New Year. Let's use this as an opportunity to dive into some of these things. So yearly questions I always love to consider. So again, even if you did this, it's a great opportunity to revisit. But for yearly questions, I always love to say, if anything were possible, what would I want to create? Okay, so that could be 6 months from now, a year from now. Then what does success mean to me? What are my sales revenue goals for the year for more of the business? Can I break that down quarterly, monthly? What do I need to reach my goals? Where can I let in support? How many people would I love to serve? What other things do I want to do for my family? Do the current operations marketing systems team, does that support the vision that I want to create? So those are just a couple of the yearly questions, and I actually will link this in the show notes, but I have an entire intentional goal setting guide that I'll drop in there. It's totally free, but it has all these questions and actually more that you can go through. So if you're like, whoa, Haley, you just went through those questions really fast, it's because I have this workbook that you guys can access to. So I don't want to spend too much time on it. Just feel free to download it, use it, fill it out in your notebook or print it off, but it's there for you. And then quarterly questions, diving into a couple of these, this is more of that reflection piece of what is feeling aligned, what is not, what can I release to move into the second half of the year? What would I love to do? Who would I love to work with? Okay, so just starting to map those things out. Some monthly questions I like to do are, what's feeling aligned, what's not, what did I learn this last month, what is the focus for the month? So you can use this guide to set you up for not only the next 6 months, but the next year, and even so far as to like break it down by quarter and even by month. So you really do get more of that action plan. And if you're someone who's like, okay, this is great, but I really want to dig into more detail with my business, I'm actually offering only within this podcast. This isn't something that I actually talk about publicly, but if you're listening, that tells me that you're really serious about making the second half of the year the best that it can be. And so in the show notes also have an application if you decide that you're like, I really want to do a quarterly planning session with you to map out a strategy for my business, figuring out like what I need to do, what are my goals, and how I can break those down to really move the needle in these next 6 months. So if that's you and you're looking for that support and that strategy, be sure to apply. And even if you're not sure and you have some questions, still apply anyways. And I'd be happy to answer those questions for you to see if it's a great fit. But I really do believe that this is something that could totally be a game changer for you if you give yourself the space, whether it's through that quarterly planning session with me or even just by using this free guide. But that is like, if you're listening to this, can you please make me that quick promise that you will set aside even an hour for yourself to just simply reflect and dream and reimagine where you want to go for the second half of this year, okay? Like, give yourself that time and space. I promise you so much good will come out of it. When you are intentional with the things that you want, I promise you it's like you're putting that out there for the world, the things that you're wanting to attract. So use this time wisely. Set that time aside for yourself. And as always, you can always reach out with any questions that you have from today's episode or about anything at all from any past episode. I'd be happy to answer and just look forward to all that is ahead. If this first half of the year tells me how the second half of the year is going to go, my gosh, like I don't even know if I'm ready for it. It has been such a fun first half, but I truly believe, like I said, the best is still yet to come. So here's to round 2. Here's to the second part, 2023. We're going in, guys, and I can't wait. We'll see you on the other side. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. Can I ask you a huge favor before hopping off? Would you share this podcast if you enjoyed the episode? I know more dreamers out there need this encouragement in their ears, and it's this community that helps to spread the word. Thank you so much for listening, and I can't wait to hang out with you again soon.